The Atlanta Braves are one of the most respectable franchises in baseball. Their smart business of locking up their young stars early has paid off massively and yielded 6 straight division championships, including a World Series title in 2021, beating out the Houston Astros in 6 games. But it's easy to forget how miserable this team looked for the first few months of the season. On July 10th, Ronald Acuna Jr. entered the game with 24 home runs, a .281 average, and an incredible .985 OPS. But following an awkward landing in an attempt to catch a fly ball, he tore his ACL, ending his season immediately. The Braves did go on to win this game 5-4 to climb back to 500, good for 7th best in the National League, but with the loss of Acuna, their season seemed over. So how did the Braves overcome this massive setback and win just their 2nd championship since moving to Atlanta in 1966? Well, sit back, relax, and let me tell you. As mentioned, the loss of Acuna in the outfield was huge, but they had other notable outfield problems too. Marcell Ozuna, who's coming off an incredible 2020 campaign, albeit it was just 60 games, but in that time he secured a 4-year $64 million extension to anchor the outfield with Acuna, but a finger issue cost him over 100 days, limiting him to just 48 games during the regular season. And the other opening day outfielder, Cristian Pache, spent multiple stints on the injured list, and when he was suiting up in center, he wasn't performing to the best of his ability, so the Braves optioned him in the minor leagues, allowing Guillermo Heredia to take over. Leading up to 2021, Heredia hadn't found too much success offensively in the majors, sitting around a .650 career OPS. But with the Braves, he got off to a very hot start till the end of June before he returned to his norm of subpar offensive production. With all this in mind, it would have been easy to understand if general manager Alex Anthopoulos would have thrown up the white flag for the season. After all, according to Fangraphs, on July 12th, a couple days after Acuna's injury, they had just a 7.3% chance to make the playoffs. 6.7 to make the NLDS, just 2.8 to win it, 1% to make it to the World Series, and a 0.3% chance of winning it. But Anthopoulos showed in 2015 when he acquired David Price and Troy Tulowitzki among others when the Blue Jays were barely hovering around 500 at the time of their acquisitions, that he believed with the right additions, his team could compete with the best, and that's the exact same thing he did in 2021. On July 15th, 15 days before the trade deadline, Anthopoulos got the ball rolling by acquiring power-hitting lefty Joc Pederson from Chicago Cubs. At the time of his acquisition, Joc wasn't lighting it up with a bat, but with Freddie Freeman and Ozzie Albies being the only 2 players on the team that hit lefty, he brought a new dynamic to the lineup, and he was able to improve ever so slightly in all categories of his slash line. Also, as mentioned, they needed players to plug into the outfield defensive positions. Now, Joc has never been a plus defender, but he helped cover 20 starts in right field for the absent Acuna and 23 in center. Then, just a couple weeks later on the trade deadline, the Braves made 3 splashes, one of them being Adam Duvall from the Miami Marlins, a huge run producer with 22 home runs and 68 RBIs at the time of the deal, and just like Joc, improved when he went over to the Braves, lowering his home runs from every 15.4 plate appearances to 13.5, and raised his OPS from 755 all the way to 800. Duvall, like Pederson, is an outfielder, started 33 games in left, 18 in center, and 1 in right for the Braves. Moving on, the club also acquired Eddie Rosario from Cleveland. At the time of the deal, he wasn't anything special with the bat and was in the midst of an abdominal injury that kept him out until late August. But when he did come back, he provided a huge boost to the offense. In 33 games, he hit 7 homers, knocked in 16 RBIs, and slugged almost 600 for an OPS topping 900. Unlike Joc, he too is a lefty and provided the Braves more offense from that side of the box, and of course being an outfielder as well, he helped plug in at left field where he started 24 games. And finally, they acquired Jorge Soler from the Kansas City Royals, a man with a great track record in 2019 and 2020, but was struggling in 21, hitting below the Mendoza line. But with the Braves, I'm starting to sound like a broken record, he improved, hitting more home runs in a much shorter amount of time than with the Royals, raised his average by about 70 points and his OPS by a staggering 224, while also starting 44 games in right field. These 4 additions helped take the Braves, who were 51 and 54 at the deadline and 3rd in their division, to 37 and 19 post-deadline and 1st in their division with an 88 and 73 record, setting them up to play the Milwaukee Brewers in the NLDS. In this series, not all of them performed, but one of them can be credited heavily in the series victory, that man being Joc Pederson. Sitting 1-1 in the series, Game 3 is crucial. Lose and you're on the brink of elimination, win and you're just 1 game away from the championship series. The game remained scoreless until the bottom of the 5th inning when Joc connected with the 4th pitch of the at-bat for a 3-run homer. These 3 runs ended up being the only ones of the game, with strong pitching performances from the Braves helping shut out the Brewers. Then in Game 4, Joc had another crucial role. In the bottom of the 5th inning with the Braves down 4-2, he hit an RBI ground out to narrow the lead, and the next batter, Travis d'Arnaud, hit an RBI single to tie the game. And with Freddie Freeman's home run in the bottom of the 8th, the Braves claimed their ticket to the championship series to face the reigning champion Los Angeles Dodgers. But if Joc hadn't got the ball rolling in the 5th inning, and let's say he strikes out or pops up, then the game could have very well finished differently, and potentially even cost a Game 5, and nobody wants a winner-take-all match away from home. Moving on in the championship series, this is when Eddie Rosario stepped up. After winning the first game of the series 3-2 thanks in part to a 1-for-4 effort with 1 run scored from Rosario, the Braves are down 4-2 in the bottom of the 8th inning of Game 2. With just 6 outs left to play, he was able to shoot a ground ball through the hole between the shortstop and third baseman for a single, and later in the inning the Braves were able to tie the game 4-4. Then in the bottom of the 9th, Rosario had the opportunity to do something special. Facing off against Kenley Jansen, one of the best relievers in the league, all he needed to do was get a hit. Because with a speedy Dansby Swanson on second, that would win them the game and go up 2-0 in the series. And on the first pitch of the at-bat, Rosario shot a rocket past the pitcher and past the second baseman, who could not pick it cleanly, sending the ball into center field to allow Swanson to score and give the Braves a 2-0 lead in the series. Thanks in part to Rosario's heroics, and he didn't stop there. In Game 4, the Braves thrashed the Dodgers away from home, and Rosario hit 2 homers, one off of Julio Urias to break the deadlock, and the other against Tony Gonsolin to put the game to bed at 9-2. Then in Game 6, with the score tied 1-1 in the bottom of the 4th inning, he took the third pitch he saw off of Walker Buehler into deep right field to go ahead 4-1. And with strong pitching performances again from 5 different guys, that's all that was needed for the Braves to advance to the World Series. In total, Rosario hit .560 with an over 1600 OPS, 3 homers and 9 RBIs, including multiple game winners en route to the NLCS MVP award. Moving on, in the World Series against the as mentioned Houston Astros, this is when Jorge Soler took matters into his own hands. In the top of the 1st inning, leading off in Game 1 away from home, he took Framber Valdez deep on the third pitch he saw to give the Braves the early lead. The Braves went on to score 5 more and win the game 6-2. Which technically means that this home run wasn't the most important run in the game. But I want to highlight this homer especially because in the first at-bat of the series, away from home in a very lively Minute Maid Park, to hit a home run, silence the crowd, and show the Astros they weren't just an 88-win team that stumbled their way into the playoffs, but rather a lineup stacked top to bottom and a pitching department that could go toe-to-toe with any in baseball. And following their Game 1 victory, the Braves proved just that. Now flash forward to the bottom of the 7th inning of Game 4, the Braves' chances of winning were just sitting at 32% following an Adam Duvall strikeout. And with Dansby Swanson now at the plate in a 0-2 count, the inning did not look promising, because in 2021, after the count gets to 0-2, he hit just 175 with a 196 OBP. But he sent the 4th pitch of the at-bat into deep right field to tie the game 2-2 and bring the Braves' chances of winning up to 55. Next up, Jorge Soler replaced pitcher Tyler Matzek. In 2021, Soler pinch hit 7 times, striking out 5 of them and only getting 1 hit. But this time it was different. He was no longer the same struggling Kansas City Royal player from the beginning of the season. He was the man who made every fan in Atlanta believe they could win the World Series in the first at-bat in Game 1. And now in Game 4, he had the opportunity to make them believe even more.
2-1 pitch. Driven in the air to left. Back at the wall. It is gone!
Swanson and Soler had done it. They went back-to-back in the 7th inning to win the game 3-2 and go on the brink of history with a 3-1 lead in the series. But the parade had to be put on hold following the Astros' Game 5 victory to force Game 6 in Houston. Soler started the winner-take-all game as a DH, meaning he had just one job, and that's to mash. And in his second at-bat of the game with runners on first and second with 2 outs, he did just that, sending a homer into deep left field to blow the game open 3-0. Coupled once again by strong pitching performances by Max Fried and company, that's all that was needed as the Braves took Game 6 in Houston to win the World Series. And Soler was the backbone behind their success, hitting 300 with timely homers and an almost 1200 OPS, giving him the World Series MVP title. Also, quick shout out to Adam Duvall, because despite him not being one of the heroes of the playoffs with somewhat uninspiring stats, he still had a big moment in Game 1 against the Astros when he hit the game-winning 2-run homer to put the Braves ahead in the series, and a grand slam in the first inning of the Braves' eventual series clincher. So, to reiterate, the Braves were lost at the midway point of the season. Their best player, Ronald Acuna Jr., went down, the newly extended Marcell Ozuna went down, and Christian Pache, a man the club was hoping could man center field, finished the season at AAA. These roadblocks caused the club to be just 51 and 54 at the deadline. But instead of throwing in the white flag, they added, and the 4 guys they brought in all played massive parts in their second half rebound, as well as achieve victories over the Brewers in the divisional series, Dodgers in the championship, and Astros in the World Series. All thanks to GM Alex Anthopoulos, who still believed in his team despite how terribly the season started, and added the perfect players at the trade deadline to help Atlanta see their first championship in 25 years. That wraps it up for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. It helps me out a lot to continue making these videos, and your support would genuinely mean the world to me. Alright, I will see you in the next one.